Україна похилилася, чогось наша славна Україна зажурилася, а ми тую червону калину піднімемо, а ми нашу славну Україну гей, гей, розвеселимо.
Well, hello, Illia Gladshtein. I'm just going to introduce you a little bit to the audience. You're a film producer and a distributor, and you run a cinema in Kiev, which is an underground cinema. I think it's quite small. It has 42 seats, and it's an underground cinema that is also now an air raid shelter. The first film you produced was with Nadia Parfan, and it was called Heat Singers, and it's a documentary, a very good documentary, which won prizes and also got bought by a Japanese broadcaster. The Kino cinema works with the Dovchenko Center, which is the film archives of Ukraine, and they feed you with a lot of Ukrainian films, which I think is your main programming or exclusive programming. Well, you're also, I mean, you're the producer of at the production company called Palam. You say that the turmoil of war is stimulating to creativity, to artistic creativity.
Of course, it pushes, because so many events are happening in a moment, much more than usually happen in a peaceful life. And also, death is a very big thing for dramaturgy from Aristotle times. It's always good for a generation where somebody dies, unfortunately, and we have a lot of that now. It may sound cynical. So for the stories, for it's like we are very rich stories. But I would not say that it stimulates creativity. It makes the documentary directors and other filmmakers to be more like chroniclers, so those who just record the moment, not even putting some creative idea behind it. So actually the medium of documentary changes its importance and changes its main agenda from creating some director's view to just documenting reality.
Yes, I mean, Ukrainian cinema after independence in 1991 was quiet for a while, and then you had something that people call the Maidan effect. Could you tell us about that? The stimulating effect of Maidan?
Yeah, it was not just because of the revolution, but because of the institutions that were built by the civil society. So Ukrainian State Film Fund was headed by quite a progressive person, and the transparent procedures were introduced. And it was this period from 2014 to 2019 was a booming for Ukrainian cinema, because everybody, without having any corruption ties to the governors, could actually get the money to make the film. And also the distribution of Ukrainian film started, and the Ukrainian audience opened their hearts for Ukrainian film, and also there were awards and many success internationally, because we just started to produce a lot. So during that time many films were done, and we are still having some films that were financed back then. But
then with the war, I suppose the financing stopped from the state institutions, and you had to find your money elsewhere.
Now
yes.
In 2022, yes, of course. Now we don't have any money, and there are many like initiatives how to put European money for production, but they are not established yet. So there are some sporadic activities, but there is no like big system, transparent system where you would know, okay, I have this idea, I know how to fund it at least 75% or something.
And then the rest of it you sometimes get from outside Ukraine.
Yeah, of course, we were doing co-productions with other countries,
yes.
Even before, but now, you know, normally to have a co-production, you have to have your national money. Now we don't have, and so this international institution have to change their rules to be able to fund Ukrainian projects that don't have Ukrainian money.
Okay, and your cinema in Kiev, it's a partnership with a hotel. It's small, it's a bomb shelter. Tell us a bit more about it.
Yeah, it's a small independent cinema in Podol area, and it has 42 seats. And we are screening mostly independent film, a lot of Ukrainian film, some archival programs, some projects in partnership with embassies. We don't screen mainstream movies like franchises from Disney or from Marvel or whatever. We don't sell popcorn, so it's really independent and underground cinema in all ways. We are based underground, and that makes us, you know, more profitable than other cinemas now, because we don't react to air alerts, and we don't have to stop the screenings during them, and can play the films until the end.
So I was asking you about TakFlix, TakFlix, which is an online cinema that screens Ukrainian films. It's a very good way of seeing Ukrainian films. Do you think it's a good propaganda tool for Ukrainian culture?
Yeah, it's a great, not just propaganda, but also fundraising tool, because many fundraisers were organized through TakFlix starting from February. And actually, there are some films that you can watch online in Belgium and in Europe. I'd recommend several of them. So from fiction films, I would recommend My Thoughts Are Silent. It's a fiction film by Antonio Lukic, a famous Ukrainian young director. He just finished his new film. It will be premiering in Venice, his second film. And this one that is on TakFlix, My Thoughts Are Silent, was a big hit in cinemas 2 years ago.
What's it about?
So it's an absurd comedy about a sound recordist who is going to record a sound of a very rare bird on the western part of Ukraine, and happens on his way. So it's kind of a road movie with very absurd, nice humor. From documentaries, I won't be modest, and I would recommend our film that I produced, Heat Singers. It's about the pipe fitters and the workers from a small town of Western Ukraine who also have a choir and they sing, and it's a documentary tragicomedy. And it's quite a good piece. And from animation, I would recommend Animation Love, from
it's called Love.
Nikita.
Okay.
Love. Yeah. It's by Nikita Kuzmenko, who is from a city on the eastern Ukraine. It's very absurdic as well, and quite short and very fun.
Okay, what about Nariman Aliyev's film? Homeward.
Yeah, Homeward is it's a great piece, but it is not available on TakFlix. Maybe you can find it on other platforms.
Yes.
It's a fiction film by a Crimean Tatar director, and it tells this also Crimean Tatar story, which is also a road movie, actually.
And what about, I think you actually produce distribute films directly onto TakFlix, maybe more shorts than feature-length films.
Yeah, there are some good short documentaries, for example, and exit or entrance through the balcony. It's a very interesting anthropological documentary about Ukrainian balconies. It's a whole separate culture in urbanism. So many people complain about balconies and people who make them in a different way because they, have their own style in a multiple store building. And kind of break at the same time it is in a way beautiful, and the directors found the way to explain why they are so different. And it's actually the difference that the will to build their own small world, I think, is a part of our Ukrainian resilience and success in
You mean
every
individualism?
Yeah, in a way, it's maybe a little bit of anarchy, so
Anarchy. Yeah.
so it helps to when the big unprecedented war comes, or some situation that you don't control, and there is no control from the bigger structures. So
Yes.
people know how to act on themselves. They know how to decide on themselves, and they are used to to expect anything only from themselves.
Okay, there's much discussion, argument about the ban of films from Russia. Why do you back it?
We have to stop promoting and screening Russian films when the war is going on, because actually Russia was using film and is using, and many directors and filmmakers were involved Russian ones. And even when you have some, innocent from the first side film that doesn't have anything to do with war or propaganda, it's just a nice story. You don't know if the director of this film did not collaborate, did not produce some film that would humiliate and dehumanize Ukrainians. And those films were not just offensive; they were actually creating the situation that the war is acceptable for the Russian society. They were normalizing the war and aggression, and they were explaining that Ukrainians are almost not a normal humans, and they can be, humiliated and killed, and it's no big deal.
So you're saying that Russian directors, you would really need to know that they had their hands clean.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I know that there are a lot of, maybe not a lot, but there are definitely some people who are not involved, who are like producing and financing independent films that were not dealing with propaganda and stuff like that. But we have to know who was involved, and just to, after we know that, we can then say, okay, this guy is innocent, he's okay, and we can screen his films.
So that's you think for when the war ends?
Yeah, definitely. It's not time now. And also because Ukraine was a colony of Russia for a long time, and was also perceived through the Russian eyes. It was presented to the world, through the literature, through film, and a lot of things, because many people didn't know where Ukraine is on the map, because many people thought that Ukraine is a part of Russia. And then they were used to listen to the stories about this land told by Russians. It was just, normal perception of the world. So now they have to, they got this, moral bankruptcy, and they now have no right to have a say. Now it's time to listen to Ukrainian stories and to Ukrainian directors about themselves, definitely, because there is like this. Like a lot of initiatives that are trying to look those innocent Russians who are presented as, you see, not all of them are so bad, let's listen to them. But actually, I think it's not a proper time to listen to even a good.
In Ukraine, various minorities, not counting the considerable Russian one, but do you think that film can contribute to good relations, tolerance between these communities?
Yeah, and of course, all all voices have to be given a space to be spoken. And when the financing of Ukrainian film, for example, was stable, we had that. So, for example, a big Crimean Tatar minority was and is quite well represented in Ukrainian film. So we have Nariman Aliyev, and also we have Akhtem Seytablayev, who is a director and actor, also from Crimea. And My Thoughts Are Silent, which is a film, the comedy I was talking about. It tells us about Transcarpathia, which is a very rich in nations and cultures, and it also tells about it. So I think that of course, like we also, I think you can also find on TakFlix a short fiction film about Roma.
You also have on TakFlix a film in Yiddish, which is called In Our Synagogue, and is based on a sketch of a story by Kafka. And that is an interesting reflection of the past, the huge Jewish population that used to live in Ukraine. Do you have thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's a very nice film by the author, by the director. Director is from Odessa, and it's quite a rare story to have a film in Yiddish in Ukraine, but I think it's also a rare thing to have in Europe and in the world, because this language is not that spoken anymore. I actually like this work, and it's also a co-production with France, which is interesting. So yeah, I like this film.
About the use of the Russian language in films that people are
about the use of Russian language, it's no problem to use the Russian language in Ukraine. Many people use it, and it's just a question of an official communication, and also the only legal language we have is Ukrainian. And we now have a law that only films that are in Ukrainian language can be distributed. So even if the film is shot on a different language, for example Russian, it should be dubbed or subtitled. And it's okay for me to be subtitled. I only screen subtitled films in my cinema. I like to hear the original voice. Yeah, so because Ukraine was colonized for hundreds of years by Russia, and there were many legal pressure on the Ukrainian language. It was banned for a long time, so now it's the time for a little bit positive discrimination towards in favor of Ukrainian language. So that's why we must have those issues now.
And so, Illia, tell me, what is a Ukrainian? Who is Ukrainian?
Who is Ukrainian as a person, or
is it I mean, when we talk about a Russian-speaking population in Ukraine, or we talk about the Roma, or or the ethnically, the ethnic Ukrainians.
Yeah. I would say that the Ukrainian, we consider, for me, like most of people, and I share this idea of a political nation, not an ethnic nation. And it was just an example. I was in a queue in a small town close to Kiev. I was away, and I was waiting in a queue, and then I just it appeared that they don't accept the bank cards, only cash, and I didn't have any cash, so I was looking for cash in my pockets, and there was nothing. And I just asked the guy who was behind me, the next one in the queue, like if he can pay for me by cash, and I will just send him money by bank card. And he said okay. So we did this transaction, and when we send money on a bank application, you see the name and surname of a person. So, and we were communicating Ukrainian, and I'm ethnically as a Jewish person, and I've seen that he is, I think, Azerbaijani or something. But we both communicated in Ukrainian, and he helped me, and it's a very Ukrainian thing to do now, to help an unknown person who you meet for the first time, and that's how all volunteer organizations and actions are being done. So people just donate to anybody who they don't even know, or just give a lot of big sums of money, or just very expensive products, like something for the equipment. So they just bring it from Europe to Ukraine, and it's all based on the trust and help. So if you would say what is Ukrainian, I would say it's about trust and help right now.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Just to finish, I mean, what are you working on right now? What's the most urgent thing you're doing right now?
Well, I'm producing now, like, as one of the producers, Nadia's fiction short. It's her first fiction, and I also develop several documentary projects. And yeah, I'm working on my cinema. So I am in my cinema now. It's my shift. So that's what I'm doing.
And what's screening right now?
It's Come On, with Joaquin Phoenix. Yeah, and it's playing right now.
Okay, well, thank you very much.